The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sine. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderwoman Sanye. 15 present. You have quorum.
Having a rave here. A quorum being present. Seems to be working now. No, it's not. We're going to pause for 1 second while we get these mics situated. A quorum being present. That better? A quorum being present, we will be led in opening reflection by Anthony Taylor. Still doing it. Please bear with us for 1 minute while we figure out the echo. A quorum being present. Think it's working. No. A quorum being present. I think that's okay. Okay, seems like the echo is gone. Quorum being present, we will be led in an opening reflection by Anthony Taylor, founder of AMP Connections and Observance with Limb Loss Awareness Month.
Good morning. So I'm Anthony Taylor. I ended up losing my left leg to gun violence. Instead of taking a tragedy, I turned it into purpose. I am here today to let you know that 500 limb loss amputees happen each and every day. But that don't stop us. Continue each day we get up to make a difference for our community, to reflect and connect and let you know that mental health, depression, and all those things allow us to continue to strive forward, to be able to show that with no limitations, we can change lives and impact community.
Thank you so much. We will dispense with the regular order business to take up the courtesy resolution calendar. I will recognize Alderwoman from the 12th on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Resolution 305. Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I rise to request that we suspend the rules to introduce Resolution 305.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Resolution 305. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sine. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Morning, congratulations.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. 15 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 12th. If you could please place Resolution 305 at the end of the first reading of resolution, or end of the courtesy resolution calendar. With that, I will entertain a motion from the Alderwoman from the 13th to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Resolution 306.
That's too tall.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
All sorts of mic problems today.
Right. Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I ask to suspend the rules to introduce Resolution 306.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Resolution 306. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, motion passes. You could please place Resolution 306 at the end of the courtesy resolution calendar.
So noted.
And with that, we will now dispense with the regular order of the day to take up the courtesy resolution calendar. Alderman from the 2nd, if you would please approach the dais for Resolution 303.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. If the Alderman from the 5th would please join me on the dais. Appreciate that.
I got him. I got him for you.
Unfortunately, today is not about you, Joe. It's about the rest of us. Madam Clerk, would you please do the great pleasure of reading Resolution 303 into the record for us all, please?
Resolution 303, honoring Alderman Joseph Vollmer. Whereas we pause today in our deliberations to recognize the retirement of the Honorable Joseph Vollmer for 22 years of service to the City of St. Louis. Whereas Joe is born and raised St. Louisan, a lifelong resident of the of the Hill neighborhood to German-Irish parents. Whereas in his youth, Joe worked at the Scherner Funeral Home family business, then became a musician and a local musician manager of the Tower Grove Music, playing rock, country, and disco music on his guitar across local venues. Whereas in 1989, Joe married Sue Bartoni, and together they planted roots in the city's Hill neighborhood. In 1989, Joe and Sue would open Milo's Bocce Garden at Wilson and Marconi Avenue in the heart of the Hill neighborhood. and together they built a renowned business that is a must-visit destination for visitors and locals alike. Whereas, after years of civic involvement, Joe was approached by friends and neighbors to run for alderman. Joe was first elected to the former 10th Ward on April 15, 2003, and more recently the 5th Ward on April 4, 2023. Whereas during his years of service, Alderman Vollmer ably served the residents of the 10th and 5th Wards and sponsored many major pieces of legislation that resulted in significant redevelopment projects, resulting in millions of dollars in economic development activity, hundreds of new living units and jobs, which profoundly transformed the Hill, allowing it to become one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in the region. And whereas Alderman Vollmer, in his last legislative session, served as chair of the Legislation and Rules Committee, vice chair of the Health and Human Development Committee, and in his decade-long tenure also served on numerous aldermanic committees, including membership on the Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Engrossment, Rules and Resolutions and Credential Committee, Public Employee Committee, Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, Public Utilities Committee, Personnel and Administration Committee, and the Chair of Ways and Means. Whereas in 2022, Alderman Vollmer, serving as Vice President, was unexpectedly called upon to serve as the acting president of the board, where he provided needed leadership that would not only restore faith and confidence in city government, but also led the city through the difficult task of redistricting the reduced ward structure, all while exuding professionalism and infusing much needed comedic review. And whereas we will miss Alderman Vollmer for his experience, his easygoing nature, his continuous dry humor, and his trademark Hawaiian shirts, of which he owns more than 300. Whereas we will miss gathering in Alderman Vollmer's office after sometimes during very long meetings to discuss, laugh, and count votes. And whereas a legislative seat is a sacred trust of public stewardship, Alderman Vollmer was called, he served, and he counted, and the city is forever grateful. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberation to honor Joe Vollmer for his decades of service to our city and community. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of the proceedings to prepare a commemorative copy as such that it may be presented at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 14th day of April 2025 by the Honorable Thomas O. Oldenburg, Alderman of the 2nd Ward, and the co-sponsors, Alderwoman Daniela Velasquez of the 6th Ward and Alderwoman Shamim Clark Hubbard of the 10th Ward. Adopted this 14th day of April 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. I'm going to say a few words, and then I know colleagues out there also want to give you some honor and tribute today, Joe. I scratched a few words down because I remember in Joe's advice is always be brief when making statements. So this is titled A Pleasure.
Hear that, Sheriff?
Alderman Joe Vollmer, plainly put, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have served in public office with you. It's been a pleasure to watch you work on so many pieces of significant legislation that have advanced the city and no doubt deepened its quality of life. It's been a pleasure to have witnessed your efforts in the 10th and 5th Wards around housing and economic revitalization that have created tangible, positive outcomes for both residents and visitors of your neighborhoods and ward. It's been a pleasure to hear so many people who have worked with you over the years, Joe, say, Alderman Vollmer, great guy, easy to work with, nice wardrobe. It's been a pleasure that you shared your intelligence, your experience, your approachable, friendly, joking nature with the Board of Aldermen. You could always count on Joe to cut the tension with a little levity and some humor. And I think that really speaks to how Joe approached his work. He once told me, Tom, We take this job serious, but don't take yourself too serious. Joe didn't suffer egos or flattery. He got the work done, he did it with a smile, and usually a pretty good joke. In closing, Joe, it's also been a pleasure to witness your love of this city. You wear it, and you wear it every day. It's inspiring. We're going to miss your attendance in these chambers. We will miss your wisdom, your politic, and most of all, your humor. And lastly, it's been a pleasure for me to stand on this dais and give you honor. And it's been an absolute pleasure to call you a colleague and to call you a friend. Congratulations.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. Thank you. Thank you all very much. As you all know, I am a great fan of brevity. Something I've been trying to teach Alderwoman Tyus for a long time. Don't start. As I've stated in the past few years, most of you were in grade school the first year I got elected. And hopefully you're not acting that way anymore. And as I look forward to retirement, it was pointed out to me it might be time for me to retire because more than 60% of the people who elected me in 2003 are no longer living. So, with that said, in all sincerity, it's been my honor to represent the people in my neighborhoods. Back in 1998, the first time it was broached talking about would I want to run for alderman, I asked why would I want to do that, and the question was, do you like to help people? And I said, sure. She says, that's truly what this job is about, and hope you all remember that, because as an alderman, you're boots on the ground, face to face with the problems every day. You are the person who they call. In fact, as I'm standing here, I have 2 abandoned cars and 3 speed hump requests at this moment. So, and you truly can help people and make a change in their lives so they can believe that government can work and the city can work for them. So I hope you all keep on doing that. I had planned to retire 2 years ago after 20 years, but we all know that a few things happened here, so I decided I better stay. In fact, my wife made me stay. But I thank all of you for all the kind words. I thank all of you for all the things we've got to do together. I thank my secretary, Tina, for 22 years of putting up with me. Thank you. All the members of the staff who use my refrigerator. Mr. Clerk, who was my first roommate 22 years ago. We shared an office together. The offices are so... He became a senior alderman. Then I got Frank Williamson. Frank was so large that we could only go in the room one at a time. The offices were... But it has been a very, very enriching part of my life to do this, and I can't thank you all enough for all the things you've helped me do and for what we've accomplished together. So, in closing, most importantly, if you might have noticed, someone raided my closet. There's a group of people behind me in the gallery. My campaign staff, who've been with me since '99, and most all my friends who've been with me since, kindergarten up there behind me. So I thank all of them. But most of all, the most important person who I could never do any of these things without. Sorry. My lovely wife, Susie. Susie, I love you. All right, so I'll close because I'm sure they're tired of looking at the back of my head. And I thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. As Alderman Vollmer retires, that leaves me as the alderperson coming into the new session with the most continuous service at this body, and currently it is the scary thought. When I first got elected, many of the senior members of the board had been down here for 30 years. We had Fred Heidert, the last Republican serving on the board, was still here. Freeman Bosley Sr., Phyllis Young, Fred Wessels, Joe Rohde, some others. But Joe, you have been here not just as a colleague, but also a friend, someone who is someone I consider to be an honest broker, and someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, even though you share Saturdays with my Uncle Gary eating bratwurst, liverwurst, and canned fish with stale bread. I'll be happy to join you in retirement every once in a while on those Saturdays. I want to extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to Sue. It is not easy having a partner in life who is giving so much of themselves to the city and to the neighborhoods that they represent and serve. And I know how much that can take its toll at home. And you are just such an amazing woman and an amazing partner and such a wonderful compliment to this beautiful man that we've been able to serve with for so long. Some of you may not know or may not remember, but Joe actually had a really frightening experience for a lot of folks that involved a barbecue pit, and was actually in intensive care. And we did our best to rally together as a body to support him and his family during that time. But I think it's important to note those experiences because this role will take as much as you give it. And Joe, even in those moments, was still giving of himself to his ward, to this city. And I think that speaks volumes in terms of your commitment and love for this city. And then, of course, as mentioned just 2 years ago, we had some really awful things happen down here, and Joe stepped up. And I'm going to just impart a little bit of wisdom for those of you that might not have been here when he was floor leader. Today happens to be Look Up at the Sky Day. National Look Up at the Sky Day. Every Friday when Joe was floor leader, he would always impart his humor by letting folks know, what holiday was being celebrated on that particular Friday, and would often poke fun at our colleague from the 23rd Ward at the time, rightfully so, and would just start off the mornings with a really great attitude. And so today is National Look Up the Sky Day. You'll have a lot of time to be able to do that in retirement. Hopefully you don't spend too much time doing it and you get to enjoy everything around you, Joe. Thank you so much for your years of service.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Joe, even though I haven't been down here that long, I really do appreciate the human being that you are. I really appreciate your wit and humor. And I was speaking to somebody just last week about you, and I said, I really love the way that Joe talks about his wife. What a lovely relationship that is, that you are always, or she is always at the forefront of your thoughts. I thank you for the sage advice that you have brought here to our Board of Aldermen. We certainly do need it more than ever. But I am going to miss you, and I'm going to be calling you and asking a whole lot of questions. I don't know how this resolution did not get embanked. I certainly said put my name on it, but if we can embank this, it needs to be, so say we all. Thank you.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 11th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we embank Resolution 303. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? You're not allowed to do that. Motion passes. The resolution is now in bank. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Alderman Vollmer, I just want to thank you for the countless amount of time that you've allowed me to pick your brain and to understand how the city actually worked. I mean, all of us know, but a lot of people don't realize you get down here and you don't know anything. You couldn't tell, you know, it's like drinking from a fire hose. But being able to, even though we disagreed sometimes on the legislation, always knowing that after a meeting I could sit down in your office and go, how the heck do I get, you know, X, Y, or Z done? And you would just tell me, frankly, how to do it. It was like college for an alderman, basically. And we're going to be missing a huge chunk of institutional knowledge now. And I'll tell all my colleagues my secret. If you need something from Joe, wander into Milo's, and he'll ask you if you're lost, and then he'll help you. And you know, you're the last of a long breed of aldermen who are tavern owners, pub owners, bar owners, and we just aren't going to have that now. And there's some of that kind of public, community centered atmosphere that we're going to be missing now. You were always happy enough to let both your business and your office be used by people to gather and have discussions on whatever the day's assignment was. And I do hope that this body can continue to step up and have those discussions. I know that you'll always be offering space for them. I'm
leaving the refrigerator.
And yeah, I know we're going to miss. I don't think there'll ever be another president of the board who a goose head as a gavel or listens to taking care of business while signing bills into law. But you'll certainly be missed here. And despite any allegations to the contrary, I certainly believe you that there was nothing but coffee in your Yeti. And with that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Thank you, Alderman Vollmer, for everything you've done down here. You met with me when I first became an alderman, and I asked you, you know, what's the secret to being a good alderman? What's the best thing to do? And you said, well, I've never championed anything. And, you know, I thought about that a lot, and I thought, well, that's an interesting perspective. But then, you know, in thinking about what I wanted to say to you today, I was thinking, no, you've actually championed quite a bit. You know, the Hawaiian shirt, making fun of the alderman from the 14th suits every day. And, you know, more than anything else, your ward, the people of the city, and getting the basics done. So I just want to say thank you for being such a good example of what it means to be an alderman for the people and to put them first. So thank you so much for all you do.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Alderman Vaccaro. Not Vaccaro. Oh, Vollmer. Sorry. You said 23rd, so I thought about it. Sorry, Brett. I'm trying to bring him back.
Menudo called. They want their car band.
Alderman Vollmer. Sorry about that. It was the 23rd that threw me off, and yeah. But Alderman Vollmer. You know, I will first say, you know, I've only been down here for about 2 years now, and in that short time, you have been somebody outside of making fun of my suits like every day. I think it's just because you can't, you know, get this style anymore. But at the same time, you have also been somebody when being able to have a conversation with, you've been able to really, I think, be somebody as a new person that I could be able to have a conversation with and understand how this board moves forward. When I first got down here as somebody who represent part of North St. Louis, I think sometimes as a young person, or maybe just me, you have these assumptions of your colleagues in different parts of the towns that they live in. And I thought with me coming from North Side and you being kind of further south, that there was not going to be much that we can agree on. But like the Alderman from the Fourth said, one thing I can say is you've always been willing to listen and to give advice and to use your experience to help younger alders like myself. Being able to just go into your office and kick the can and have an honest conversation is something you don't get a lot in politics. Everyone doesn't always keep it, as the young people say, 100, but you have. And I appreciate that in you. I am going to miss your wit. I'm going to miss your humor. I am going to miss you making fun of my suits. It gives me joy of the day on a regular, but I also look forward to coming to Milo's and continuing to learn from you. And also want to thank your wife for giving such an amazing gentleman, not only to this board, but to the city of St. Louis. It is work that is not appreciated, and I know a lot of hours that was not spent at home, but thank you, Ms. Vollmer, for giving us such a great person. Thank you so much.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. It's said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, that mediocrity can pay to greatness. None of us are wearing this as well as you ever do. So I just want to call attention to the fact that we're all doing this today because we're going to miss you. And when I think about before I was on the board, as I was contemplating joining this board, something happened that we've referred to down here where confidence in our government was shaken. And you were the person that stepped in and helped restore that confidence in this body by leading it with integrity in a time when people doubted that we had it. So I appreciate that you were here to fill that role, just as you filled the role for many of us, to be that mentor, to be that person who was always willing to answer questions. And, I know you'll be around. I know we're going to know where to find you. And that gives me some comfort. But we are going to miss you down here, and I just want to say thank you for all your years of service.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I'm going to try and keep this brief. Alderman Vollmer, I just want to say thank you. You've been a leader by example. I remember when I first called you and asked to be your vice chair for committee, and I don't know what you thought in that moment, but you told me all about the history of your neighborhood that I didn't know. In working with you, you've led by example. So my goal in this next session is to lead meetings on time and with the brevity and thoughtfulness that you chair. And I just appreciate you. And I won't get too sentimental up here, but you will be seeing me again soon. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 8th.
Members of the board, I rise just in real admiration of your service. There are two words when I think of it came to my mind when I've thought about the 10 years I've been able to spend down here at the board with you. The first is generosity. I think of all the folks that I've served with, that we've been serving together with. Your generosity to the rest of the board stands out to me in such a fundamental way, opening Milo's to celebrations over many years, celebrating not only colleagues down here at the board, but folks who do the work of city government in their retirements, your generosity in bringing snacks and other things to this body, to other staff members of the Board of Aldermen, and just sharing your office. Your door has literally always been open, not just not locked, but your door is always open to all of us. And it is truly admirable, the degree of generosity that you've shared with us. The other is statesmanship. We disagree a lot down here. And as I'm looking around at the current makeup of the board, I'm thinking of the times in which, Alderman, you disagreed with initiatives that each and every one of us have had at some point. But the statesmanship that you displayed always in your disagreement.
I first called you and you were like, do you know where to find me? And I was like, And you were like, you know where to find me if you really want to talk. And then I asked some other colleagues and they were like, oh, he's clearly talking about Milo's. And I remember going down to Milo's and walking in, and you asked me if I was lost. And you were like, well, hippies don't usually come here often. And it was our first time meeting. It actually completely took the edge off. I was so nervous, and we sat down, and I asked you, what you've been here for a long time. What has been your secret of making sure that you're doing your due diligence to properly, represent your community? And the thing that you told me is, there are a lot of politics and things at the board. I'm sure you have a lot of ambitions. But what's most important is that you remember your community and that you make sure that you're responsive to them, that you make sure that your constituents, they enjoy the way that you're representing them, that you're meeting their needs, and that is always your first concern. And if you do that, you go a long way. You can work your way through everything else. And so I just wanted to thank you, because that is certainly advice that I have kept close as we've moved through things. And also just wanted to make sure that I put on record and repeat what's been said about an appreciation for always your honesty. You've always been straight up. Yes, I'm with you. No, I'm not. We've had a certain amount of no's, but also I think people might be surprised of how many yeses we found, how quickly you're able to say, well, what about this, this, and that, and get right to whether or not you can support something or get with it. I also don't know if you remember, but you also helped me format explain to me the formatting of the first resolution that I was filing. And so I just wanted to make sure that we put on record something that I hope, we can continue as we continue to transition, is just whether or not you agreed or disagree, you always really have seemed genuinely interested in helping others. You really seemed interested in not necessarily having a gotcha moment for others, making it very clear whether I agree or disagree with you. I understand that in some ways our success as colleagues is tied together, and I've always felt that from you. So I just wanted to thank you for your service, and also reiterate to your beautiful wife that you cannot talk to Alderman Vollmer without you being mentioned, and that I've also found that be absolutely beautiful and fantastic, including several times. Keep this brief because I've got to get back to my wife. How can I help you? So thank you, Vollmer, for your service, and I have enjoyed serving with you a great deal.
Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Alderman Vollmer, I wouldn't miss the opportunity to publicly thank you. Not just for the advice that I clearly can't share here on the floor today, which has been some of the best that's gotten me through, but more importantly for the example that you have set for alders like me. I will say and add that I'm going to miss everything about the way you serve, including, I don't know if you remember when we first went on COVID and the world stopped, and we were getting back to our meetings and we were going on Zoom, and I text you because you weren't giving us the daily, day of the month, day of the year, whatever it is, day of the week it is. I text you because those are the things that you silently but authentically guided us through in. You don't know how you changed the trajectory, even probably of a meeting, just with your words, just with your presence. I want to thank your family, your friends, of course, your beautiful wife, Susie, for sharing him with us. It's made the difference. It absolutely has. And so since I've built up this relationship with you that I'm very proud of, I'm going to say I'm not going to call. I'm not going to call on you, but I promise, and I'm committed to every time you may need to call on me or your family or your beautiful wife, please don't hesitate. I promise I will come running to support you however I can. Enjoy this next chapter of your journey. Godspeed, because I know for you all the best is yet to come.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm going to grant Joe one final request. Congratulations on your retirement, and that is the end of my speech.
Now that is a long-lasting impression on the board right there. At this time, if there's no further discussion, we do all want to get a picture over on the stairs here. If we could all please come up, including your lovely wife.
It's going to be some more shocks.
Please.
Freeman starts with third ward alder.
Thank you.
That we will move on to resolution 306. Alderwoman from the 13th. I will turn the dais over to you.
Thank you, Madam President and the board. I'd like to present to you Resolution 306, honoring our colleague, Alderwoman Cara Spencer, and congratulate her on her election. So Alderwoman Spencer and I have been some ride or dies. So we're like oil and water. And so as everybody that knows Alderwoman Spencer, when she gets frustrated, what does she do? Ruffle her hair, start messing her hair. And I'm like, will you stop? Because I already know what she's doing. So I wanted to take this time to recognize her for her tenure as she has sat on this board. And I want to thank her because she's been a colleague to me and she's helped me through. We had we were with the budget committee, and that was challenging for the people that were sitting on there because they were new and they knew nothing about how the processes work. So she really helped and educated them to help them to understand our processes. And I think that's what helps our city is when the new alder people have those people that have that knowledge that can pass that on. So I want to recognize her, and I want to ask if anybody has anything they want to say in regards to her, to stand up. Okay, call you up to the dais. Alderwoman Spencer, right. Yes, ma'am. What she saying? Okay, she wants to speak.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
Thank you, Madam President. I was just going to ask if she would request the resolution be read.
Okay. Would you like to do that? Madam Clerk, could you please into the record?
Resolution 306, honoring Alderwoman Cara Spencer. Whereas we pause today in our deliberations to recognize the Honorable Alderwoman Cara Spencer for her 10 years of service to the City of St. Louis and its Board of Aldermen. Whereas Alderwoman Spencer was born in St. Louis, Missouri on September the 11th, 1978 to Bob and Patty Spencer. She spent her early childhood on Belle Reve Boulevard in the Carondelet neighborhood. Whereas Alderwoman Spencer graduated from Parkway South High School and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics from Truman State University. Whereas Alderwoman Spencer was first elected in 2015, she distinguished herself as a champion of the Cherokee Commercial District and its ongoing rejuvenation. And whereas Alderwoman Spencer has dedicated herself to protecting the interests of her constituents and the fiscal health of the city, required absentee landlords to pay fines for building code violations, held payday lending operators accountable, and sponsored the first municipal Good Samaritan law in the United States to help protect victims of drug overdose. And whereas Alderwoman Spencer won election in 2023 to the reformed and larger 8th Ward, expanding the neighborhood she represented to include downtown and Soulard, among others. Whereas Alderwoman Spencer has faithfully served as chair of the Automatic Waste and Means Committee and now Budget and Public Employees Committee. Whereas we will miss Alderwoman Spencer for her collegiality and her commitment to focusing our attentions on the people's business. And whereas we look forward to working with Alderwoman Spencer as she assumes the role of the mayor of the City of St. Louis because her success will be our city's success. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberation to thank Alderwoman Cara Spencer for her outstanding service to the City of St. Louis, and we wish her well as she begins her term as the Mayor of the City of St. Louis. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of the proceedings and prepare a commemorative copy to an end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 14th day of April 2025 by the Honorable Pamela Boyd, 13th Ward Alderperson, and Honorable Thomas Odenberg, 2nd Ward Alderman.
Thank you, Alderwoman Boyd, and thank you all for allowing me just a moment to reflect on 10 years down here. As you all know, being an alderperson is truly an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve our citizens. We do some of the hardest work being so close to our communities. We're the first person that our residents call when a pothole doesn't get filled or when something other breaks down within city government structure. And it's our job to fix those things. It's a challenge, as we all know, but it's an incredible honor. It's so important. I want to just highlight the last sentence here about working together. Our city's success depends on all of us working together. And I'm not moving far. I'm just moving across the hall. My door is always open. It's so important that the Board of Aldermen and the Mayor's office agree on the big initiatives, that we figure out the overlap in values, where we want to see our city go, and to work together to do that. I want to make sure that we're lockstep with the legislative branch as we consider big initiatives like the RAM settlement funds, charter reform, city managers, those big things that we're talking about moving our city forward with. It's so important that we're on the same page. My door is open starting tomorrow, and I look forward to furthering our existing relationships and making sure that we're on the same path for growth for our city. As I just want to look around real quickly, I want to just reflect, because I don't get to stand up here very often, on the spot where I got into a fight with Alderman Vaquero when he was down here. The times that we spent on the balcony reflecting, counting votes, hiding in the back when we wanted the Board of Aldermen meetings to go over. There's so many memories here in this room. I'm really grateful for my time here. I'm really grateful for the relationships with all of you here today, and I'm looking forward to building on that success that we've had. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Cara and I actually got to know each other when I first came down here, and we really spent time around our dear friend, God rest his soul, Stan Jones. And we ended up having to grieve together when Stan passed away. And I know he'd be so proud of you if he were here with us today, and he is here in spirit. But Cara, I want to thank you for having the energy that you bring to this board. I talked about you earlier. I said, well, she's a spitfire. She's scrappy. And so when I think about, the things that you've been very passionate about and how scrappy you ready to go to the mat, I dig that about you. And I look forward to what these next 4 years will bring. And anybody who's not on board needs to get on board, because we've got work to do. And we need to be about the business of this city and the business of the wards that we represent. And so with that, Madam Mayor-elect, congratulations. I don't know how this didn't get embanked either. So say we all. This needs to be embanked. Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 11th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 13th, that we bank Resolution 306. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution is embanked. Alderman from the 4th, and then I'll go to the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Alderwoman Spencer, Mayor-elect Spencer, it's been incredible to serve with you over the last 6 years. When people have gotten down here and asked me to kind of explain the lay of the land to them and asked for kind of a description of each alder person and what it's like to work with them, the word that always came to mind describing you was tenacity. You just won't stop. Like you're just one of the fiercest advocates that I've ever run into for the people and causes that you care about. And it's incredible when we're on the same side, and it's exhausting when you're on the opposite side. But whether it's airport privatization, things going on with the Enterprise Center, or just a stop sign in your neighborhood, you absolutely would not stop. You'll keep on running headfirst into a wall until you get whatever you need to get done. And I respect the heck out of that. And the fact that you're able to do it while also balancing being a single mom is just incredible. I have one dog that I take care of, and I can't even imagine having the energy level that you do on this. I'm looking forward to you bringing that big energy to Room 200 and that fierce advocacy. And hopefully we're working on the same side of things for the foreseeable future. And I wish you all the best of luck moving forward. Thank you.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. It's been mentioned a couple times already, your tenacity, your scrappiness. You and I have worked together for the past decade now and have worked together on many issues. Airport privatization, fighting the privatization of our airport was a really big moment, I think, earlier on in your career where you took the lead on that and really helped fight that fight, which goes to show the scrappiness and tenacity that you bring with you. And I don't think it's any secret we were on opposite sides in this election cycle, but I'm going to publicly say, I believe firmly, and I know I've already told you this, that we share a mutual interest and love of this city and its success. And you have my support in Room 200 and look forward to working with you the next 4 years. I think all of us in this body can note that we don't always get along and we don't always agree on everything. But all of us are here with a purpose and intention to serve our city and serve our residents, serve our neighbors. And Alderwoman Spencer, Madam Mayor-elect Spencer, and I also happen to be neighbors. And so we have shared a ward border for pretty much our entire time serving down here together, serving the same communities, serving the same neighbors. And she brings that tenacity with her, to those communities, to our neighbors, and just as much as she does down here at City Hall. And we're all rooting for you because it means the success of our city, and happy to work with you as we move forward as a city. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Alderwoman, I want to make sure I say it right. Alderwoman Spencer, Madam Mayor-elect Spencer, congratulations. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the camaraderie that we have built down here on the floor, and now we have to look to be in a different space. What I'll say is of the different ways we've worked together down here in the 6 of the 10 years that you've been here, one of my most vulnerable times down here, you were the first person to reach out to me, and that was during the school shooting at Central Vision Performing Arts, because we share that we are both proud St. Louis Public School parents. And I will never forget that, and the way that you made sure that we as a board acknowledge that. These are things, again, that I hold dear. And I lean into, again, as we move forward into this new space. I wish you Godspeed on behalf of our beloved city of St. Louis, that I know one thing we both do is want the most, the best, and better for. So thank you, and good luck.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm going to get the name right this time. First, to Alderwoman Spencer, Madam-elect Spencer. It has been great to know you for years. I've had the opportunity during our Bruce Franks days on Cherokee Street to get to know you and work with, at the time, Alderman of it was maybe the 9th Ward, Alderman Gunther, and being able to be part of the great things that we did at Yaki's and the People's Thanksgiving Drive, and always seeing you and Alderman Gunther cutting the turkey, you going crazy with your hair and the knife and the turkey. But it's just always been a delight to get to know you as a person. And, coming down to the board, we also share borderlines. You became, as I told a lot of people down here at the board, my downtown buddy, where we've done plenty of events to make sure that the downtown community, as we share that, understand that there is 2 separate alders, but we work hand in hand to try to bring great things to that part of the city. I just want to thank you for your leadership, as Alderwoman Boyd said, being one of those new members on budget. That first year, I can attest to, you was very, not only patient, but you were very willing to educate and take the process slow for new members like myself and Alderwoman Sine, and really dive into the budget so that we understood these different departments. I'm going to miss, as everyone said, your scrappiness. We've had some conversations on the phone, some good ones, and I remember I called you about the food truck, and maybe I was a scrappy one at the time on the phone, but you will be missed. I know you're not far. I also was not on the side of endorsements this go round, but at the same time, I gave you a phone call and I was honest and I let you know where I was. And I look forward to working with you as you transition into Room 200 to move our city forward, to move our community forward, and try to find positive ways to bring some positivity back to St. Louis. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your service. I want to also thank Cy for giving up Mom, and going to be giving up Mom a little bit more, but thank you for being a good friend, even when we disagree, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. Alderwoman, I just want to say thank you for your years of service. I know that you're going to enter a new chapter in your years of service here. I also just want to echo, I think, what many of my colleagues said, that, I know that you have the heart of the city and the welfare and of the city top of mind, and we are here to work with you. We may, of course, disagree because that is the legislative process, but I know that we're also going to work through some good legislation and find ways to, make things more efficient in the city. And also, I know that I've appreciated your commitment to new Americans and immigrants both in your campaign and during your time serving Cherokee Street and representing Cherokee Street. And I know that will continue. I have also appreciated your love of tasteful blazers, which I see you have another one on today. I hope that we'll be able to continue those little conversations as you move to Room 200, and thank you.
Alderman from the 2nd.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Alderwoman Spencer, Mayor-elect Spencer. First, thank you for serving on the Board of Aldermen. It wasn't long after my election that I realized that you were a leader down here. And you and I personally disagreed on a handful of things. And I think I've said it to you before privately, and I'll say it publicly now, but you were right. You were right on, I think, all of them. So thank you for that. You took grace in winning. You took grace in winning on a few things, and I appreciate that. But I always admired your tenacity and clearly your leadership. You're a born leader, and you have the ability to bring folks together, and that's a respectful and admirable trait. So continue to do that in your role. I look forward to working with you, as I know the Chamber does as well. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Alderwoman Spencer, Mayor-elect Spencer. I really appreciate all that you've done down here. You've been such a good example to me. You've always helped me learn the role, get better at the job. And I know you're very popular in my ward. Often when I would be knocking on doors, people would open them and they'd be like, "Oh, Cara, I got you." And I'd be like, okay, I'm Ann. It's fine. So if you ever need a body double, I am there for you. I heard a few people told me congratulations on being mayor this weekend, so I'll pass that on to you. I'm growing my hair out, so hopefully that'll happen less. But I just want to say I really appreciate you. It's an honor to be confused for someone who is so well respected in the city, and I appreciate all you've done, and I know that you will do even more as mayor. So congratulations and thanks for everything.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. So we are losing 2 colleagues today, which is really sad, but it's really nice to see one of them going on to bigger and greater things. And of course, I'm talking about Joe and his retirement. I really do wish you the best, though. Congratulations. You ran a fantastic campaign, incredible results, and I know that you're going to unite this city in a way that we can all work together because we do have work to do. So just again, congratulations, and we're going to miss you around here, but we know we'll be seeing a lot of you.
Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, thank you. Alderwoman Spencer, Mayor-elect Spencer. Getting tired of getting your butt kissed so much right here. Everybody's looking for jobs. Just to let you know, I'm retired. I'm not looking for a job. Congratulations.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board.
Go right over there, Tom. Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you. Mayor-elect Spencer, I'm going to say things here that I've already said to you before, so this won't be new. But, you know, I feel like, especially because I came in representing the Cherokee Street area, I've really gotten to see your impact, the relationships that you build, some of the foundations that you set very early on. You are someone that I've come to many times, especially first after getting elected, and asked how things work. You're someone where when people send emails and put you on, you quickly respond and will try to help, you know, both issues and help us move things forward. So I just wanted to commend you. I know there are folks walking at home, but there's also been times where we've worked strategically to move things forward, where you were very clear with me, like, hey, I think you might be on this here, but this is the way I might recommend that you go about it, or this might be a better method or a better strategy. So I appreciate the ways we've been able to work together, especially behind the scenes, because so much of the work does not happen when the cameras are rolling. And I look forward to that, and I've told you this before, but I want to make the commitment here publicly. We have one city of St. Louis, and I really do not believe that there's a version of it where some of us win and some of us. I believe that we all win or we all lose, and so whatever you might need from me, however we can continue to work together to move initiatives forward in whatever ways that may be, I certainly look forward to that. And I look forward to the impact that, you know, the city will have. And I'm appreciative of the ways that you've already demonstrated to me just a real sense of kind of collaborativeness and willing to have difficult conversations, because I think in the next 4 years, we may have some of the most difficult conversations this city has ever had. And I just want to make sure that I put that on record, that you have my full support, and whatever I can do to help to move us all forward, my door is open and my phone is open for that.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, first I want to say that I pushed the term Alderwoman because I didn't want to be an alderman when I came down here in 1991. But I did hear that you like to be called Alderman. And I left that open because women should be able to be called what they want to. So all these people were wrong. Alderman Spencer, okay, and Mayor-elect Spencer. Let me say I've enjoyed spending time with you, working with you. You're a person that thinks outside the box. If you're wrong, you run over here and tell me, Sharon, you voted for this, and now I understand I shouldn't have done that. My door will always be open to you as long as you want to listen. I won't push my opinions on you, but if you call me, I told you already I would answer you. Of one of 2 alder people that were openly with you. So for all those people who called me and said, did you know Cara was white? Yes, I know Cara is white. I know she's white. And guess what? I was with her because she was the better of the 2 candidates. And for all those people who know that Sharon Tyus tries to, in all things that I can, I'm the person that supports black people. And in fact, 4 years ago, I supported your opponent. But I think, and I told you some of the things I didn't like about your campaign. I want to say, You cleaned that up. You ran a beautiful campaign. It was about the issues. It was things that touched every part of the city, and it was just fantastic. I look forward to you being sworn in tomorrow. And as I told you already, I'll do anything I can to help you. I liked that you, I think I'm going to blow up that picture of you putting that stop sign up, because I liked that. I really liked that, because sometimes you're so frustrated in trying to get city services done that you feel like you have to do it your daggum self. So I loved that. I loved your ad about filling the potholes when you were running. I wanted to be in that ad that said, but this time I'm with Cara Spencer, because I was. And I was I'm all in. I'm willing to take the political backlash no matter what. I do believe you were the better candidate. Alderwoman Boyd in the 13th came out a little earlier, but at some point we're going to have to sit down with this whole city and talk about their behavior and the things that they do. And I think that you came to all parts of the city. I love that. You came by yourself. We had a Black elected officials meeting in a church, and Russ Carnahan came, but in walked Alderman Cara Spencer too. I was impressed with that. You know the church was full. You were not on the agenda, but when you got that kind of nerve that you come in here and you sat in the front row, I let you speak. And I was appreciative of that, and so were the people in my community. Some of them were scared because they think because you're white, you're not going to give us services. I don't think that at all. I think that you'll care about all parts of the city. I know your kindness. I know your backstory about when your sister died and what happened with that. I know a lot of things about you. And so I'm very proud that you're going to be the next mayor of the city of St. Louis. This is what I stood down here all these years for as a female. When I hear people talk about standing on people's shoulder, they don't know they're standing on mine. From Darlene on down, those are the people I worked for to get in office. I think you're going to be one of the ones that I'm very proud of, because I think you're going to show the city that you represent the city, the entire city, not the progressives, not the blacks, not the whites, not the conservatives, all corners of the city, from Chain of Rocks Bridge to Carondelet Park, from downtown to the city limits. We have a vibrant city, and every part deserves to get fair treatment. And I look forward for you to do that. And as I said before, if you need me, you call me. If you don't, I will not be trying to press my opinion on you. I will, of course, stay at this Board of Aldermen and be opinionated. But you can find out my vote early. You don't have to find out when I'm on the floor, because you have somebody, I think I know that guy back here, who's a good friend of mine also. And I look forward to working with the Spencer administration. And I look forward to you putting your stamp on the city of St. Louis. Thank you for your service. I look forward to you in your new role as Madam Mayor.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, then we can all gather one more for a picture over here, if that's all right with you. All right, let's meet on the steps.
Use the same picture roll.
No, you don't. I'm tall, so I can get in the back for all you short people. I stand right by Shane. He sits there.
You know why? Just carrying on the tradition of the third.
I did so many, I don't know.
Alderwoman from the 12th, you are recognized on Resolution 305.
Oops. Madam President, members of the board, I seek unanimous consent. Did we already put it on the?
It's on courtesy. You don't need to do that.
Okay, I'd ask that the clerk read the resolution. That's permissible.
Madam Clerk, could you please read Resolution 305?
Resolution 305, honoring Darlene Green and her years of service to the City of St. Louis. Whereas Darlene Green is a native of the City of St. Louis, graduating from Vashon High School, one of St. Louis' historic high schools for African Americans, earning a Bachelor of Science degree from Washington University in St. Louis. In the private sector, Darlene used her fiscal talents for 2 St. Louis retail giants, Brown Shoe Company and May Department Store. Whereas Darlene began her career in public service, serving as budget director for the circuit courts and then for the City of St. Louis in 1993. In 1995, the city's first black mayor, Freeman Bosley Jr., appointed the city's first black female comptroller, Darlene Green. Darlene made history as the first black woman comptroller and the first black woman to sit on the city's Board of Estimate and Apportionment, known as the Board of E&A. In 1996, Darlene Green again made history, becoming the first black woman elected as comptroller of the City of St. Louis. And whereas during her tenure as the comptroller, the Honorable Darlene Green has served on a platform of honesty, fiscal integrity, and focus on protecting taxpayers' dollars. She led the city to several year-end surpluses and 9 credit ratings upgrades. In 2008, the City of St. Louis received an A+ credit rating from S&P, something the city had not achieved in 35 years. And in 2024, as the comptroller, she was able to secure a coveted AA credit rating for St. Louis City for the first time in 50 years. Whereas Comptroller Green has actively recruited and supported the development of future generations, her office regularly sponsors the Coral Fellowship Program, training the next generation of change makers. In 1996, she created a finance internship program in the Office of the Comptroller, which connected local minority and low-income students' interest in finance career with real-life experience and mentorship in municipal finance. The program served as a model for the citywide jobs program, STL Youth Jobs, which Comptroller Green supports to this day. The Comptroller also introduced the Green Help program to assist St. Louis owners save money on interest and to make their homes more energy efficient and environmentally friendly. Whereas Comptroller Green actively worked in her community with both charitable and professional organizations. She is the member of the National Association of Black Accountants, the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Government and Financial Officer Association, Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church, and the Women's Political Caucus of Metro St. Louis. And whereas during her esteemed career, Comptroller Green has received Louis 2008, the Distinguished Service Award from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. State Celebration Commission of Missouri, the National Achievement Award in Government by the National Association of Black Accountants, the Gateway Classic Sports Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award, the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women's Shining Stars Award, a Political Leadership Award from the Young Democrats of the City of St. Louis, an Achievement Award from Sister Sister Expo, the Mound City Bar Association Distinguished Community Service Award, and the 2003 St. Louis District Christian Methodist Episcopal Church Ministerial Alliance Community Service Award, to name a few. Now, therefore, be it resolved on April the 14th, 2025, as Comptroller Green completes her shining, stellar 30 years career as the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, in honor of an impeccable service to the City of St. Louis and its citizens, the Board of Aldermen for the City of St. Louis wish to acknowledge the many contributions of Darlene Green to the City of St. Louis as important and as significant. Specifically, this honorable board, in recognition of her love for the City of St. Louis and its citizens, wish to congratulate her on the significance of breaking racial and sexual glass barriers by becoming the first Black woman comptroller, the first Black woman to sit on the board of ENA, and the first Black woman elected as comptroller of the City of St. Louis, and the longest serving member of the board of ENA. Be it further resolved that the clerk of this Honorable Board of Aldermen is instructed to prepare an inscribed copy of this resolution presented to the City Comptroller, the Honorable Darlene Green, at the appropriate time and place. Introduced this 14th day of April 2025 by the Honorable Sharon Tyus, Alderwoman of the 12th Ward, President Megan Green, and the following Honorable Board members: Pamela Boyd, 13th Ward; Shane Cone, 3rd Ward; Alicia Sine, 7th Ward; Thomas Oldenburg, 2nd Ward; Joseph Vollmer, 5th Ward; Brett Narayan, Alderman of the 4th Ward; Shamim Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th Ward; Michael Browning, Alderman of the 9th Ward; Laura Keys, Alderwoman of the 11th Ward; and Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer of the 1st Ward, adopted this 14th day of April 2025.
Alderwoman from the 12th, you may proceed.
Madam President and members of the board, first I'd like to inquire, was that everybody's name? Because if it's not, I want to yield to the Alderwoman from the 7th.
Right. Alderwoman from the 7th.
So, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to make a motion to thank this.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we thank Resolution 305. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 12th, you may proceed.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to, this is really hard for me. I was here when the comptroller came here. I've served with her for so many years. It is unreal. I don't even have my words to say. I'm going to let Alderwoman Keys continue with this while I get myself together, please.
Okay. Alderwoman from the 11th.
On? Hello? Okay, thank you. So I've known Darlene Green, oh my God, for so many years. When I first started my, I guess, political life, I was just a brand new homeowner living across the street from Myrtle French, who was a committee woman. I didn't even know what a committee woman was. And so she took me by the hand and she introduced me to wonderful people like Darlene Green. Over the many years, every time Darlene was up for re-election, she always gave me the respect to call and say, no, I don't take nothing for granted. I'm calling to ask you for your support. And I would always respond, I got you. You don't need to call me. If my word is sufficient. If I told you that I got you, I got you. I believe in loyalty. And so over the many years that Darlene has served our city, this is a woman I respect. This is a woman who has kept our city, one of the few cities across the United States, and y'all better Google that, who has kept our credit rating at a AA. Well educated, well versed in numbers. I always tell people I'm not a big fan of math. I do know how to count my money. I don't want to count nobody else's. But Darlene has taken on the mantle all these years of being, and this is her own description, the watchdog for our city's money. And I certainly am going to miss her in that role. I am blessed to have been able to spend time with her in her home and to feel the warmth of her presence that was not necessarily related to work, but just two women sitting and talking. And those are the times that I cherish the most. And so with that, I wish Darlene great peace on her retirement. We will continue to be in touch and to be fixtures in her life. And so I thank her for her service to our city and in keeping our money straight. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Darlene, if you were watching Comptroller Green, my forever Comptroller Green, I want to thank you for 30 years of incomparable service to the city of St. Louis on so many different levels. Being able to share space with you, not only publicly, but personally and privately, has been one of the things that has really kept me going in political service in the city of St. Louis, starting with when we served and when we worked together in my first tenure as a committee woman. So now I know the work does not stop. It doesn't end, most importantly, because I have the honor of serving as your Alder lady. So I look forward to answering your calls and supporting you in continued efforts, again, in this shared new space in the city of St. Louis that I know we all want to do well in. So again, thank you, Comptroller Green, and Godspeed, like I said, for Alderman Vollmer. I know for you as well, the best is yet to come.
Need further discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I want to thank Alderwoman Tyus for bringing this resolution forward to honor, as she said earlier, folks that we stand on shoulders that are still here, like Ms. Green. And, her years of service didn't just start as she was elected comptroller, going back when she was the budget director. I'm looking back for and maybe deputy budget director. So she has always had a commitment to St. Louis, and she's always had a commitment to wanting to make our city better. And I just want to thank her for all that she's done. She's touched many lives and continue to touch so many lives, and have just dropped some gems. Me and her was on the opposite side of Prop B, which she won that one. But even during that time, she was still willing to. I think we continue to talk about it down here. Just because we're on opposite sides, she was willing to still have a conversation with me and educate and inform me on why she believed that it was best. And even outside of that, just on countless conversations, if Ms. Green got your ear, she didn't just, give you 2 seconds. She was intentional, and she really dived into making sure that she had a deep, educated conversation with you. So I just want to thank her for somebody who has taught me a lot and been able to look at and see Black leadership and see it done in a way that, no scandal. Of course, there may be everyone always throws mud, but she's been able to go through years of service without any scandal, and just been a person I think a lot of folks can look up to. So I want to thank her for her 30 plus years as the comptroller and her more years of service in the city of St. Louis, and thank her for everything she's done.
Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I just rise here in gratitude for our comptrollers' long years of service to our city. When I think about working with Darlene over many, many years, I reflect on the fact that I think with regards to most issues, almost all issues, I was always on the same side of the comptroller. She always had the best interests of heart. I think it was clear from the positions that she took on everything. I want to, thanking the alderman from the 3rd for crediting me with leading on the airport. While that, I thank you for that recognition. There were so many of us here, down here, right now, also pushing on that. And Madam Comptroller was really a tenacious leader on that front as well. She really did an enormous amount of work. And on top of all of that work that she did on behalf of the best interests of our city, she was always one to answer the phone directly. When you had an issue, a question about what was going on in the comptroller's office or something that she was working on, she was always there to answer the phone, to explain what was going on, her perspective, and be personally engaged with me as an alderperson. And I know many of my colleagues down here on the issues that matter to us. Comptroller's office. And I want to just really recognize her willingness to work on issues with us, and thank her for her long years of service to our city.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I got myself together a bit. I first met Darlene Green about 40 some odd years ago. All three of the women that were in the comptroller's race, I actually know them. I know Celeste Keith Metcalf because we started college together 50 years ago. I know Donna Behringer, when I returned to the board, she was an alderperson from, I want to say, the 16th Ward at that time. So three excellent ladies, and it was a good race, and the people have spoken in both the mayor's race and the comptroller's race. And so when I say this is no disrespect to the new comptroller-elect, but Darlene Green, I know the work you did. I know how hard you worked. I know your ability to be what I call a still magnolia, because she had such a quiet little voice, but behind that voice, when she believed in something, her back was like steel, and she stood up for it. We famously saw her face off and come down here to talk about the ARPA funds that I also agree were not being done correctly. And she came twice to speak to us about that, which is unheard of in this body. I'm down here longer than anybody and never saw that happen. And she was right. And it was something that I had said to the people that were administering it, and I wish they would have listened, because I called Neil Richardson 3 different times and met with him to talk to him about, are you seeing how this is playing off in the press? People don't like that. The comptroller was willing to come down here and speak to us. She cared deeply about the city's credit rating. She cared about the city. She cared about young people. She cared about so many things in our community that people don't even understand. I was really disappointed to see her get accused of the bad pay system, accounting system that we have and how we pay people, because that was not something the comptroller wanted. It was the mayor and then president of the board who did that, and she got stuck with it, and people then blamed her. For those, the election is over, please know that was not the comptroller who did that. I also want to talk to people about the people who said, oh, she doesn't come to work. You don't have to be at this city hall to be working. If you don't believe it, talk to the city workers who get emails from me at 4 o'clock in the morning, because I famously get up between 4 and 5 o'clock. And that's why I had to add something to my email that says, when I send you emails early, that doesn't mean you have to answer, because I was sending them and the city workers were sending them back. And I said, why are you doing that? And they said, well, Alderwoman, you're sending them. So there's something we have called a home office. There's also, we've been in a pandemic for a while, and though some of us have wandered back in here and it's all right, as you get older and your resistance gets changes, you have to be careful about who you're exposing yourself to. I never knew when I talked to the Alderwoman, and I'm a hard person when you don't know your facts, that I could call her and she knew the facts. She knew the issues. She came up with innovative ideas. When we came up with this ice storm, it was the comptroller who said, in snowstorm, hey, I got emergency powers. I can help the mayor by giving money to get the snow up. People don't know that. She's done that on several occasions. She is just a marvelous, amazing person. People say to me, Sharon, I never heard you and the comptroller have a cross word. You didn't, because if we disagreed with each other, we called each other, we had a sit-down conversation, we came to an agreement about what we could work on and what we were just going to agree to disagree, and that's what we did. And didn't become personal and petty and vindictive as I've seen some of the people who do politics now. It was all about, let's make this city work. We have lost a jewel in the comptroller, and we haven't lost her because she's still here. She's still in the city. I think that if the new mayor and the new comptroller want to ask her questions, she would answer the phone and she would help you. And I think when you have that kind of long-term service, that you do well to call on your elders, the people before you. I did give that advice to the outgoing mayor when she got in, and I told her to talk to the previous mayors because there's only so few that were living that you could actually talk to and had experienced that. And whether you were on the same side or not, they could always tell you something. So she didn't do that, but that was the advice I will give to this mayor and to the comptroller. Reach out. And I don't care where this alderman now who's called the 3rd Ward, what is he now? Yeah, the 5th Ward alderman says, I'm going to encourage people to call him anyway. Don't let him stay retired. Make sure you call him or go by Milo's, because even if he doesn't answer that phone, you can find him at Milo's. So this is what we have to do with our historic knowledge. We cannot let it go away, because when it's gone, it's not there anymore. And you take it for granted until you look up one day. So I'm going to miss the comptroller. I'm not going to let her just sit idly. I'm going to be calling on her at all times, as I'm going to do with the alderman from the 5th. And I want to wish you, Madam Comptroller, well, and I look forward to working with you in your new position as citizen of the city of St. Louis. And congratulations, Madam Comptroller, on a job well done. And as the Alderwoman said from the 11th, nobody talks about not any scandal at all. No scandal. Nothing. Had to make up something to run against her because she cared about this city and she cared about our finances. And no, it was not to remove snow. It was not to remove snow. I saw a piece of literature. That wasn't her job. Her job was to keep our credit rating good, and she did that. Thank you, Madam Comptroller.
With that, there's no further discussion. Then, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Introduction of honored guests. Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I have a couple of honored guests. First, I'll start off with the one who made me an Alder Granny, my daughter, Ayana. Today, she is my special guest. It's her birthday. Happiest birthday, Ayana, you and Ami, baby, and Bobby. I hope you all enjoy your day. We love you. We are immeasurably proud of the woman that you are growing into be and the mother that you will be. Enjoy your day, sweetheart. Also, today, if she will come from the back, I want to recognize our very own Mary Shannon, our legislative researcher. It's her birthday. Happy birthday. In the galley, I would like to recognize here in partnership with my colleague from the 9th Ward, Alderman Browning, we welcome the WashU Bears Student Advocacy Group. If you can stand. This is the WashU Bears Student Advocacy Day at the BOA. Thank you for being here. We're going to get to some business, I promise. But I'm glad that you all got to see this and got to experience a lot of this history, right, that was shared today. And we look forward to conversating with you afterwards in the Kennedy Room. And if any of our colleagues would like to join us, please feel free to. And lastly, I would like to have as my honored guest, Mr. Kevin Bailey. Kevin, I want you to know that none of your work, not for a second, was in vain. You did your job, and now, because of the covering that I know you have, the next step is going to be greater. It's going to be greater, so don't you for a second worry. You just get ready and know that somebody like me, when I say it, I mean it. When you call, I'm going to come running. I got your back. And we're going to get through this step and the next step and the next step. Always. I love you, Kevin. Good luck.
Alderman from
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. As my honored guest, I know he left, but I wanted to have Mr. Anthony Taylor. He's a resident of the Lucky First Ward, how to remember the nickname. He runs an organization called AMP Connection that continues to uplift the importance of limb loss awareness. As we enter Limb Loss Awareness Month of April, I just want to thank him for all the great work that he does. Looking forward to partnering with him on events this month and throughout the year, as well as I want to have Ms. Rosalind Guy as my special guest, a resident of the 14th Ward, who stay in the Webster Senior Building, who has just been, most of us probably know Ms. Guy. She's a legend in the city, but also just a great community activist and individual that continues to make sure that senior building has representation and events happening. So I want to thank Ms. Guy for all the great work that she does. Thank you, Madam President.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jameen stole it from me, but I want to have Kevin as my honored guest. Kevin, as that arm of the mayor's office, you're so responsive. It didn't matter if I called in the morning or late in the evening, he'd call. And even though every time I said, you call me Laura, Alderwoman, I appreciate that respect. But please, from now on, call me Laura. I thank you for all of your hard work. I thank you for being so responsive. I thank you for the loyalty that I watched you display towards your mayor, your boss. I respect that in people, and I respect you. And only great things from here. So, as always, just stand back and watch how God's going to bless you. Amen.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to just acknowledge that we have one new member of the board that's going to be joining us tomorrow, and he was up in the gallery earlier. I don't see him currently. He might be... you know what? I will defer my honored guests to the Alderman from the 5th Ward, since it is his last day.
Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, thank you. Members of the board, you know, when I'm gone, there's nobody going to be here to tell you how to do things anymore. As my honored guest today, I do have, he just stepped out, Matt Devote, who will be the incoming 5th Ward Alderman. Matt's a good guy. He lives across the alley from Milo's, so he's easy to find also. If you come get me, I'll ring his door. I have with us today my good friends Terry and Chris Tomlinson, Tom and Anna Stremla, Paul and Sue DuRamondo, Charlie Lodani, and his shoes. My sister and brother-in-law, Mark and Annie Sticka, Teresa Bartoni, my sister-in-law, my niece and nephew, Stephanie Malone, and Brian Vollmer, and most importantly of all, my grade school buddy up there too, Phil Bruno. Yeah. But the person who, I depend upon the most, my lovely wife, Susie. Thanks for coming.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, February 7th, 2025 and February 11th, 2025.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, February 7th, 2025 and Tuesday, February 11th, 2025.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, February 7th, 2025 and February 11th, 2025. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, C, and D of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for reappointment to the Central West End Community Improvement District. The appointment of James Dwyer, the appointment of Carl Bozo Enning, the appointment of Jack Straub. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, to Charlotte O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 9th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Central West End Community Improvement District.
Thank you. I would move that we accept the mayor's appointments to the Central West End Community Improvement District.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Central West End Community Improvement District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for reappointment to the Soulard Special Business District. The reappointment of Terrence Hoffman and the reappointment of Sean Caruso. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, to Sharborough O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 8th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Soulard Special Business District.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the mayor's reappointments to the Soulard Special.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Soulard Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Shuttle Avenue Corridor, CID. The appointment of Nick Walker, who resides in St. Louis County. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, to Sharborough O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 8th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Shoto Avenue Corridor Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the mayor's appointment to the Shoto Avenue Corridor Community Improvement District.
Been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Shoto Avenue Corridor Community Improvement District. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Westminster Lake Special Business District. The reappointment of Leah Reynolds Harris and the reappointment of Christina Bennett. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, to Sharborough O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 9th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Westminster Lake Special Business District.
Thank you. I would move that we accept the mayor's appointments to the Westminster Lake Special Business District.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Westminster Lake Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of report of city officials.
Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendar? Seeing none. First reading of board bills.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 12. Reference to committee of board bills.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 13. Second reading and report of standing committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 14. Report of special committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 15. Board bills for perfection consent.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 16A. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 16B. Report of engrossment.
Board Bill 96 as amended on the floor and Board Bill 122.
Third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Board Bill 96 as amended on the floor.
Is 122?
That's on third reading.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sine. Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Aldridge, President Green,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Spencer,
Alderwoman Spencer.
15 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
Board Bill 122, sponsored by Alderman Ryan and Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance amending Chapter 3.02 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis to require all city boards and commissions to develop and adopt the rules, requiring those rules to be available to the public on the city website and providing for Robert's Rules of Order to prevail whenever the rules of the city boards and commissions are silent, and providing for training to be offered to members of the boards and commissions to ensure familiarity with rules, sunshine law, and Robert's Rules.
Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 122.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 122.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 122. Alderman, you may.
I think the summary of the board bill basically sums it up. Happy to answer any questions.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I rise to oppose not the bill itself, but the amending of the revised codes. There's a whole bunch of reasons that you don't do that. One of them is that we don't even update our codes every 4 or 5 months. We really should be at least referencing the ordinance that goes with it. And so I agree with the sentiment, but I can't vote for it. And I would ask that when we come back, we clean it up so that we don't get bad legislation. For that reason, I will be voting present, not no.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, Alderman, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. When we come back starting tomorrow, be happy to work on any cleanup on this. And with that, I renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 122. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Cone, Alderman Ryan, Alderman Vollmer, Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderwoman Sine, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Aldridge, President Green,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Spencer.
I did aye. You're bothering us. We're having a meeting.
14 aye votes and 1 voted present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 4th to third read and finally pass Board Bill 122. Report is finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 96 as amended on the floor and Board Bill 122.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading of resolutions in reference to committee.
Resolution 288, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, Holly Hills Special Business District Annual Report.
Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized on the first reading of resolution 288.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to adopt Resolution 288.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt Resolution 288. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you. This is the annual report and budget information for the Holly Hill Special Business District. It's in the resolution. They've been incredible about their budgeting and their reporting and have everything kept very up to date, both on their website and at all of their public meetings. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt Resolution 288. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Resolution 300, Soulard Special Business District Annual Budget.
Alderwoman from the 8th, you are recognized on the first reading Resolution 300.
300. I don't know what that is. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We're looking for
Resolution 300.
Where is it?
Need to request unanimous consent.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I request unanimous consent on Resolution 300. But I have to point out, it's not in the agenda. Thank you.
Second.
Unanimous consent on the adoption of Resolution 300, recognizing the Soulard Special Business District annual budget.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is just to adopt the Soulard Special Business District annual budget.
Would you like to make a motion to adopt?
I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 300.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt Resolution 300. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 302, sponsored by Alderwoman Velazquez, President Green, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, and Alderwoman Keys, standing with United States federal employees.
Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on the first reading Resolution 302.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to request unanimous consent to.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Can Madam Clerk please read Resolution 302?
Madam Clerk, if you could please read the resolution.
Resolution 302, standing with the United States federal employees. The United States federal employees carry out key governmental functions and their work affects millions of people. Whereas federal employees ensure food safety, investigate criminal activity, provide emergency care, and develop science and technology. Whereas federal employees are air traffic controllers at Lambert International Airport, detectives at the St. Louis FBI District Office, park rangers at the Gateway Arch National Park, civil engineers at St. Louis AmeriCorps of Engineers, and economic watchdogs at Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, among many others. Whereas federal employees improve fire safety, drinking water quality, veterans' health care outcome, and safety from avian influenza. Whereas federal employees come in all shapes and sizes, all socioeconomic backgrounds, in all parts of the United States, including the city of St. Louis. Whereas in the St. Louis metropolitan area, which includes city of St. Louis, 25,600 federal employee workers were employed at the end of 2024, bringing $3 billion in economic impact to the region. Whereas federal employees are under attack by the current U.S. presidential administration in a manner never seen in the history of the Republic, and whereas federal employees comprise over 3 million people nationally, in addition to 1.3 active duty service members of the Department of Defense. Whereas to support federal workers does not mean giving up reducing inefficiencies, does not mean shielding from their accountability or criticism, does not mean ceasing our efforts to enforce strong, rigorous, merit-based standards for public service. And whereas at their best, government workers, staffers who give themselves to improving the republic, who believe in American democracy, so strong they are willing to devote their lives and its promise and are essential contributors to the public good. And whereas, at its best, federal workers reach out to those who fall through the cracks, it is the force that should be demonstrated every day that government is a place where nobody gets left behind. And whereas we echo the over 1,200 national hands-off protests on April 5th, 2025, including in St. Louis. And whereas we call upon the city residents to continue to lead their voices with all who call upon the president to stop mass firing of federal employees, to protect our country and our economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honorable Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we stand with all United States federal employees and call upon Trump administration to immediately halt all mass firing, call back to work all federal employees wrongfully terminated, and take a significant, more temperate approach to the reduction of government inefficiencies. We further direct the clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of the proceedings. Introduced this 14th day of April, 2025 by the Honorable Daniela Velasquez, Alderwoman of the 6th Ward, and the following co-sponsors: the Honorable Megan Green, President of the Board, the Honorable Ann Schweitzer, Alderwoman of the 1st, the Honorable Brett Ryan, Alderman of the 4th, the Honorable Cara Spencer, Alderwoman of the 8th, the Honorable Michael Browning, Alderman of the 9th, the Honorable Shamim Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th, and the Honorable Laura Keys, Alderwoman of the 11th. Adopted this 14th day of April.
Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt Resolution 302.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to adopt this resolution. I think 25,000 plus federal employees is no small number, and we should be doing everything that we can to support these employees. And also when we talk about the things that we're concerned about here in the city and a population that's thriving and a city that's thriving, certainly supporting workers and our federal monuments that we have here is important. So I would ask that my colleagues vote in favor of adopting this resolution today.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt Resolution number 302. Is there any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I just want to rise in solidarity, not only with us down here at the board, most importantly with Kim Bartholomew and Unite Here and the work that they do daily. There are continuous fights here when you're fighting for what's right. Right? And so being able to stand down here in a position, again, in solidarity with these workers, many of us may not know anybody personally, many of us do. If you don't believe it's hit you, it has. And you can look probably not too far from your door to see how it has, and then the trickle down of how it will continue to impact. So again, being here to lend a voice, an ear, two boots on the ground with Kim, Unite Here, and all of the other organizations and people that are standing together on behalf of this first work, right? This first firing that we don't know what may be next. Again, sending this voice, this consensus from us, I know is important, and while many may think it won't make a difference, it does. So thank you, Alderwoman Velasquez, for bringing this resolution here, and I would like to ask it to be in bank.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we make Resolution 302 in bank. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I also want to stand in solidarity with AFG, our Federal Workers Union, and so many other unions across not just our city, but our nation. I know myself, Madam President, the Alderwoman from the 1st, and other elected officials from the city and the county and even Illinois was able to stand with them as they held a rally down at the Arch, as several of our federal workers are continuing to not know what their future looks like, as we have a man in the presidency who is making it very uncertain for the hardworking men and women who keep us safe, to make sure that our food is tested, to make sure that we get safely through the airports, and so many other things. So I want to thank the Alderwoman from the 6th for bringing this resolution forward, and continue to let all our federal workers and union know we got their back. And if we don't get it, we will stand with them and continue to shut it down. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President and members of the board, in line with that, I would like to thank U.S. Senator Cory Booker, thank you, for his hours standing on that floor, standing up for all different kinds of workers, be they local, state, or federal. That was fabulous. And to see him erase out of the history books, there you go, the Alderman from the 3rd, to see him erase out of the history book an avowed segregationist and racist was marvelous. I was crying again. I'm a big crybaby. It was marvelous. And I think that I'm going to come back next week and send him, do a resolution that I want to send to him, because sometimes when you can't do anything else, you just stand and you fight with your voice. And he was marvelous. And for all of those people who didn't think that they were going to be affected about the new president, that's our old president, now you get to see it wasn't like what you thought it was going to be. And if we don't start making our voices heard louder and louder, it's going to be worse. So thank you for the Alderwoman from the 6th for what you did, but also thank you, Senator Booker, because that was marvelous. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt Resolution 302. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second reading resolutions, committee reports and adoptions.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 21, miscellaneous and unfinished business.
Poet Laureate, approval by the Board of Aldermen.
Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on the appointment of Paisha Anderson as the Poet Laureate of the City of St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to make a motion that we officially adopt Paisha Anderson as the Poet Laureate for the City of St. Louis.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we approve the appointment of Paisha Anderson as the Poet Laureate of the City of St. Louis. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Report from the Committee of the Whole.
Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on the report from the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We spent a lot of time in all of these committee hearings for Committee of the Whole last session, and so it's only right to commemorate that with the report. There is a full 19-page report that is in the Google Drive that can be found. It gives a breakdown of every single hearing that we had. It pulls out some of the things that each alder that is a part of this board highlighted and pointed out in each meeting. It highlights the over 16,000 people who we had participate in the process. It categorizes all of the ideas. I really want to make sure that I thank Ms. Murda, who I can't see right now, but we have spent a while working on this report and putting it all together. I think it's really important that we commemorate our city's history, especially something to me that was as historic as Committee of the Whole. And so there are a lot of ideas in there and kind of everything that happened, including a part that involves some of the hopes and ideas behind the compromise bill that is in the report. So I hope you all will find that in the Google Drive, and I hope that it will be helpful to us as we move forward to have that nice synthesized data and report available to all of us.
Thank you. Go ahead. You can clap. Announcements.
Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, Board Meeting, the annual meeting in the chambers at 11 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, I would like to take a moment for a personal point of privilege before we adjourn. And I want to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that this body has done over this past session. I think it's safe to say that this session felt particularly long, especially as we reached the end, but I don't want us to lose sight of the progress that we made. Not only did this board allocate all of our city's ARPA dollars ahead of the federal deadline, it also took major steps to revise our charter and improve transparency, not just in the work of the board, but as in the work of the city as a whole. This session also marks significant changes for two of our longest standing members. After a long and dedicated career, Alderman Vollmer is enjoying a well-earned retirement from public service. Let's give him another round of applause. And at the same time, Alderwoman Spencer is taking on the great responsibility of leading our city. Congratulations to both of you for your years of dedicated service here at the board. Tomorrow, we start a new session with a new mayor, a new comptroller, and another opportunity to make our city better. Last week's election was a vote of confidence in this board. Residents made it clear at the polls that they want leaders who do the work that we've been doing here, like holding vacant property owners accountable. They want leaders who think long-term about our city's infrastructure needs. They want leaders who stand up for our seniors, support our unhoused neighbors, and strengthen the rights of renters. And as changes at the state and the federal levels pull us backwards, local leaders like us have to keep stepping up. Residents are counting on us in a time when social services are being cut, reproductive rights are once again being threatened, and our economists are unfortunately predicting another recession. This is a pivotal time for St. Louis, and we don't have to agree on everything, and it's not likely that we will. But that's also not how democracy works. So I hope we can disagree in ways that allow us to meet this moment together. The stakes are high. The future is still bright, even in spite of all of the threats that are coming out at our city at this moment. And I have faith in this body going forward that we can continue to do the hard work to make St. Louis a place where everybody feels supported and wants to stay, live, and work. So thank you for all of your tireless work over this past session, and we get to come right back here tomorrow and start it all over again. With that, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All members were present this morning.
Great way to end the session. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn, sine die.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn, sine die, until Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, in the Board of Alderman chambers at 11 a.m.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adjourn until Tuesday, April 15, 2025 at 11 a.m. in the Board of Alderman chambers. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.